This is another libtard cope response, okay? I've got no dog in the race. I love seeing a woman get beaten up by men. So I'm all for it. Forming cunnilingus on a woman, and then all of a sudden you feel a warm squirt in your mouth. You spit out white fluid. What's that? Oh, what the fuck?
Born, without the uterus, being born with internal testicles.
Bro.
Those don't make me less a woman.
Like at the end of the day.
Bro, I've never heard that person speak before. I've already seen pictures of them. Yeah, well, We're gonna do a little trans palate cleanser. We're gonna do a trans cleanser. I've not talked about trans issues for 5 minutes, and I've got a bulge in the side of my head because of it. Okay. So this actually just got linked, and this guy I trust implicitly over this stuff. More plates, more dates.
What's up, guys?
So this is a follow-up on Imane Khelif. So Imane Khelif was the boxer that conservatives said was transgender and progressives said was definitely a woman. And I don't know anything about sports shit, but I looked at it and I thought, this person's probably intersex like that runner, Naya, or whatever her name is. It seems like a similar thing, probably something like that, where they've got some disorder that means that they've benefited from some sort of male puberty or something like that. That was my perception of it. And obviously, I don't want to speak too soon. But I think that this is, as more information comes out about it, I think that it becomes clearer and clearer that, yeah, it does seem, everything is pointing towards the idea that this person is some flavor of having a disorder of sexual development. So it was wrong to say they're trans, that's not correct. But the instinctive response that there's nothing to see here and this is just a woman, I think was also mistaken. And the truth was in this direction, I think. So, yeah.
Eric, moreplatesmoredates.com. Today we are revisiting the Imane Khelif debacle. This is the highly controversial boxer who won gold in women's boxing a couple months back and is highly suspected to be male, at least by many people, including the International Boxing Association that disqualified her at the 2023 World Championships based on a failed gender eligibility test where they claim it was determined that Imane has XY male chromosomes. Somehow the IOC...
Everyone's saying not a woman is a retard. No, okay. Right. This is how it is. This is just how it is, okay? If you have a disorder of sexual development, obviously that doesn't get tracked on your passport when you get given a gender, when you're assigned a gender at birth or observed at birth, whatever you want to fucking call it. Assigned is the woke way of putting it, right? But something is observed and that's put down as your sex, okay? When you've got a disorder of sexual development, right, that isn't always going to be correct. And the doctors will kind of, oh, yeah, I think we'll go with male, I think we'll go with female on that. And then particularly during puberty, this disorder of sexual development can show its head, and then you end up going through a puberty that doesn't align with what you were observed with at birth. Right? And on top of that as well, we've got to contend with the fact that this is Algeria that we're dealing with. Okay? Okay, Dickers, fair enough. So how do we know what the conditions are for Algeria to correctly observe at birth what someone's sex is? Does that align with our standards of what we'd have, and so on and so on and so on? So there's a lot of unknowns here, but people are just, going down one line of it with, no, it's a woman, it says it on their passport, no more questions. And I'm like, I agree that they're not transgender, but surely we need to have a conversation about, do they have a DSD? And if they do, does that create an unfair advantage, which means, as unfair as it might feel, that they can't fight? Just like the fucking Seminaya runner person who had internal testes, which gave them an unfair advantage, and they ended up getting, disqualified from running unless they took treatment to reduce their testosterone levels. So, it's like, this is genuinely a situation where there was like retardation on both sides, and it seemed like so few people were willing to just have the reasonable conversation of, are they intersex? Does it create an unfair advantage? And how do we deal with that? You know?
Failed to provide any adequate elucidation as to what their criteria was to allow somebody to compete as, in female boxing. And they basically just summarized and consolidated their criteria into, you would be eligible as long as you were born and raised female, and it said so on your passport.
I think it's clear cut without okay. But I agree it's wrong to say they're trans. And that was a stupid line of argument from the right because of the fact that it's from, there's no such thing as like trans as we conceive of it in the Western Algeria. But that was a kind of red herring that was used to dismiss the concern entirely. Oh, you're obsessed with trans. It's not trans, they're a woman. And it's like, well, that misses the nuance of the issue that comes with this DSD,
And that was kind of it. So, as long as you were born and identified at birth as a female.
People discovering the variabilities in hormones and bodies have me rolling my eyes. Do people freak out at every person with polycystic ovary syndrome, intersex hormone imbalance? Okay. This is another fucking retard, libtard cope response, okay? I don't give two fucks if someone has got one of these disorders, but if they want to compete in female boxing, in female contact sports or whatever, okay? Right? Then yes, there's a conversation that needs to be had in regards to whether or not it's fair for them to compete at a fucking Olympic level. This is fundamental to the conversation about, protecting women's sports and stuff. And it has happened before with the fucking caster, whatever her name is, person, okay?
And raised as a female, we don't actually care if you have internal testes, is indirectly what they highly suggested. It was kind of like, we don't have any, there's no duty on our end to actually determine, if you're a male or female, or if there's some androgen insensitivity in question and it's a spectrum and there's some sort of nuanced interpretation that has to happen here. Rather, were you born and raised as a woman? We're not going to discriminate.
Caster Semenya, thank you.
Discriminate. Here you go. So, highly controversial and was not clarified much, so it left, everyone to scrutinize and people.
But by the Olympic Committee, okay, go and look at the Olympic Committee's standards in regards to participation and diversity, right? And go and look at what they say and how they assess things, because you'll be in for a sharp shock when you realize that the Olympics has unironically gone woke, okay? I know that's fucking something rightoid retards will say, but it's go and look at what they say about this shit. It's crazy.
To run wild with their speculation, as you would imagine. Now, even more controversially, apparently a medical report was leaked that confirms the XY chromosomes that the IBA had alleged, a year prior, and testicles. So this is an article on redux.info. A shocking new development.
Really scraping, I don't know what, dude. I don't know why, this is one of the most irritating things that people do. Listen, okay? I don't know what to tell you. I'm personally interested in this. There's not much going on. You can come back another day if you're going to be a retard though, okay?
Has emerged in the case of the Algerian boxer Imane Khelif, after a French journalist reportedly gained access to a damning medical report revealing Khelif has testicles. The news comes months.
Also, dude, it is so crazy to me what scraping the ball. Yeah, this is so true. Internet covering updates on big international news stories in regards to cutting edge gender politics issues. Oh, kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel here, covering this international news story that happened.
After Khelif seized a gold medal in women's boxing at the Paris Olympics. The report was drafted in June of 2023 via collaboration between the Kremlin, I'm going to butcher this, hospital in Paris, France, and the Mohamed Lamine Debaghin Hospital in Algiers, Algeria, drafted by expert endocrinologist Soumaya Fadela and Jax Young. The report reveals that Khelif is impacted by 5-alpha reductase deficiency, a disorder of sexual development that is only found in biological males. So as you can see here, It is from the medical report and you can see right here, 5-alpha reductase type 2. The genetic abnormality influences the normal development of a child's sexual organs. At birth, male babies impacted by 5-alpha are often incorrectly assigned female due to the presence of deformed genitalia that sometimes take on the appearance of a blind vaginal pouch. The disorder development typically becomes apparent by puberty, when 5-alpha adolescents begin to experience signs
also,
of
bear in mind, right, the country that is sending these individuals, it's not actually in their interest to assess and disclose this stuff correctly, right? Like, if you're being touted as a boxer, it suits you that they've got this disorder and they're still female on the passport. Oh, you're a woman, it says so on your passport. Get in the ring and box that fucking, do you know what I mean? So it's like there's lots of like conflicts of interest and issues at play here, you know, where disclosing this stuff accurately or assessing this, or maybe even it's going, well, we've done an assessment of your medical history, you know. That's a little theory craft. Is it really? I'm not making any strong claim about it. Right? Okay? I'm just saying that, you know, I mean, it's not in the country's interest to fucking correct this or address this, because some of this stuff can be changed. Like, you get assigned female at birth or observed female at birth. I always use the woke terminology. I can't get it out of my head, okay? Right? And this can be assessed, and you go through puberty, and it becomes apparent that it's not as simple as, oh, you're just a female, and it can be changed. You know, it happens. It happens with some of these disorders, you know? They didn't know because an Algerian woman looked a bit roughed up like that. Okay.
masculinization, such as muscle growth, hair growth, in the absence of breast tissue development or menstruation. Without access to a proper clinical examination, males with 5-alpha may incorrectly believe they are female into adulthood. At the end of October, French journalists...
See, this is what I'm saying. Without access to a proper clinical examination, males with 5-alpha may incorrectly believe they're female. Exactly. Proper clinical examination. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You know? It can be assessed and it can be changed. I mean, do we trust Algeria's system? I personally don't. I'm skeptical about Algeria's ability to accurately, fairly, and correctly assess all this. Personally, you know, it's kind of a shithole from what I understand. So I'm gonna assume that it's not up to the standards that we would have in the West, generally speaking.
Jaffer Ait Aoudia, fucking man, I am not gonna get this right. Aoudia obtained a copy of a thorough medical examination that was conducted on Khelif in order to verify the presence of a disorder of sexual development. According to Aoudia, the clinical report reveals that an MRI determined that Khelif had no uterus, but instead had internal testicles and a micropenis, resembling an enlarged clitoris. A chromosomal test further confirmed that Khelif has an XY karyotype, while a hormone test found that Khelif had testosterone levels typical of males. Aoudia also noted that doctors suggested Khelif's parents may have been blood relatives. Sheesh.
Wait! Muslim? Blood relatives? Study on first cousin marriage rates in Muslim communities? The puzzle pieces going together, dude. I mean, that does stack up. I mean, if you've got these DSDs, I think can be a product of incestual relationships, right? I mean, dude. I mean, it sounds racist, but guys, go and look it up, okay? There is, unfortunately, the facts. It's like the fucking, it's like the, you know, the crime statistics all over again, okay? But in Muslim countries, there is quite a high, like, you know, rate of inter-family cousin marriages and shit.
The report concludes by recommending Khelif be referred for surgical correction and hormone therapy to help him physically align with his self-perceived gender identity, and adds that psychological support would be required because the results had caused a very significant neuropsychiatric impact. Damn, dude. This report coincides with an earlier admission by Khelif's coach, Georges Cazorla, that the Algerian boxer had been subjected to an assessment at the Kremlin-based hospital after being disqualified from women's boxing by the IBA in March of 20.
Bro, this broad's got a micro penis and testes, bro.
2023. So the coach tepidly conceded that the endocrinologist had determined there was a problem with Khelif's chromosomes at the time. Despite this fact, Cazorla insisted that Khelif should still be allowed to compete against females.
Oh, sorry, I forgot about the alerts. Let me play these two again, sorry.
Okay, that's wonderful. But how do I make money off depressed people?
Willie, how does it feel knowing you have worked for Farron? Bean Burrito Bandito.
Okay, that's wonderful. But how do I make money off depressed people?
Hidden microgox are hot. Give me money.
I think it was $10. And Nicholas, I think I might have missed this earlier. It turns out Bo Black's rent would have been paid if he just TM'd anyone else. True.
Females. Cazorla also stated that Khelif was placed on testosterone suppressants following the 2023 medical assessment. However, the IOC has not submitted athletes to chromosomal testing since 1999, and at the Paris Olympics, the only requirement to participate was to have a female sex marker on legal documents.
Wow! Dude, that sounds pretty fucking wacky, doesn't it?
So absurd. Further confirmation of the boxer's karyotype was given by Alan
Diesel
Abraham.
Baby became a member. Diesel Baby celebrates 13 months of membership. We should all be showing support, TBH. Who among us is not a shower, but a grower? Grower gang in chat.
Very true, Diesel Baby. Thank you.
Hemson, an associate professor at the University of Southern California's Annenberg School for Communications and Journalism. In an August statement, Abrahamson said he had personally viewed the results of the hotly contested chromosomal results ordered by the IBA, which concluded the boxer's DNA was that of a male consisting of XY chromosomes. The news
yeah, dude, bro. The fucking... Oh, Russian Boxing Federation. Ha! I'm not going to trust that. It's like... Okay... It could be biased. I'm not going to dispute that. That's possible. But, like, where is the bias becoming present here? I feel like there were a lot of narratives that got accepted by lefties without being critically scrutinized. And it led them down the path where they were just, you know, arguing it's a woman. No more questions. That's it. It's done. And this was in response to Rightoid saying also retarded shit that they were transgender. So don't get me wrong. The retardation was coming from both sides of the house. But fuck me, dude. It was total cancer trying to look at this and everyone's fucking piping up with their, you know, super biased take.
Khelif's leaked medical report comes after he
won. And for me, right, I got no dog in the race. I've got no dog in the race. I love seeing a woman get beaten up by men. So I'm all for it, okay? Lovely stuff. Keep that going, right? I don't care about Algerians. I don't care about incestuously created Algerian boxers. Don't care. Do you know what I mean? I'm just fucking, if anything, I'm for it. I'm going against my bias to say this is fucked up.
Won gold at the Paris Olympics in the women's 66 kilogram category. During a press conference in August, the IBA repeatedly confirmed that Khelif had failed multiple chromosomal tests, but was barred from releasing the results of those tests by the Algerian Olympic Committee. Icon's co-founder Marcy Smith slammed the IOC.
Chuddy has a vagina. Well, you're from Turkey, mate, so I don't fucking know what you're on about. But secondly, I don't think it's a vagina, sure, but it's a vagina that is like got a little micro penis as a clit. And apparently, allegedly, according to this, some internal testes. I don't know if that's a vagina in the traditional sense. Okay? If you're you know what, and there's a big old fucking clitoris there floating about, I mean, you've got to ask some questions, haven't you? Also, apparently no uterus. I don't know how much faith I'm putting in this article exactly. He seems to just be reading it. I thought he'd give us more analysis. Maybe he gets to that. But yeah, I don't know, dude. It all seems to be pointing in one direction.
An Algerian Olympic Committee for allowing Khelif to continue his journey to Paris gold, despite being fully aware he is genetically male. So if this indeed ends up being
performing cunnilingus on a woman, and then all of a sudden you feel a warm squirt in your mouth. You spit out white fluid. What's that? Oh, what the fuck? Oh my god, dude, come on. Stop it now. That's enough.
True, which many suspected to be the case. That would be pretty horrible. You'd have not only somebody having fought women in Olympic sport, but also having essentially stolen a medal from a biological female if this indeed is the case, because 5-alpha reductase deficiency is not something that could be chalked up to, oh, there's a nuance here in which you're probably not getting a performance enhancing advantage. Like, this is not insensitivity to androgens at the AR. This is actual deficiency of DHT solely that prevents you from having full masculinization during puberty, but you still have testosterone production of a male. You still have the infrastructure of a male. You are literally a male. You're essentially under-viralized. Like, that is the outcome of DHT deficiency. And we see this in many cases clinically as well, where you have individuals who have a mutation in the gene that encodes for 5AR and they end up with micropenises, but they still have a penis nonetheless. I think the most relevant example of a...
I think you got the wrong end of the stick here. I mean, I don't know if this guy wants her to be a man. I just think that he's assessing the situation and coming to a reasonable perspective on it. You know, I do like that Redux magazine and the people that run it are funny, you know, say crazy shit on X, but it is bias. There's a bias there. You know, every other article seems to be transgender, rape to X, Y, and Z. I'm like, okay, right. They seem to find every single trans person that's raped someone. But they did put me onto that. What was that person who was a bread tuber that got prosecuted for rape? I think that was because I follow one of those Redux people. So fair's fair. That was fun content. But I don't know. I feel like there is this element of everyone has pushed the narrative, or progressives have pushed the narrative so hard that there's no questions. This person is a woman and you should stop asking. And I think, yeah, there probably is another angle to this that is quite unexplored by the progressive side.
A high-profile case with 5AR deficiency was castersemania, and I think it's worth revisiting. Yes! I actually went over this in very elaborate detail in this video. I'm going to try to not be overly redundant, but I covered androgen insensitivity syndrome and the spectrum of it at great length in this video, and all the nuanced DSDs as well as 5AR deficiency, and what could actually be classified as unfair versus fair, and, you know, what is actually female versus not female. Like, it's not too difficult to discern what is essentially an unjustifiable advantage and a male advantage at that through a 5AR deficiency, which I cover in great depth in this video. And I also, when I described the castersemania situation, explain why I think it was justified that Caster is not allowed to compete against females. The whole suppression of testosterone, and if they should be able to compete against females after suppressing their levels, is another highly controversial, nuanced subtopic of that discussion, which I cover in the video as well. But it's a whole nother rabbit trail to go down. But at the end of the day, should anybody with a deficiency or a mutation in the gene that encodes for 5AR that results in them being heavily under-viralized through puberty be allowed to compete against females? No, you are just a male with male testosterone production with some, I suppose there could be a nuanced interpretation where if you had...
You're getting a little sidescut against the far left IMO. The initial claim the left was reacting to was this woman looks manly and hits too hard. I mean, I feel like I've said quite strongly that the right were really retarded on this and they said stupid shit about it first. Right? But then when the response was, well, it's a woman, no more questions. Well, that also is a problem too. And it just, that's what I'm saying. I said that both sides of the house were retarded and the middle ground or the middle perspective, no, we're not banning dickers, was missed in the conversation. So I don't know if that's true. I think I've been fairly reasonable in all aspects of this every time I've spoken about it.
Such structurally suboptimally functioning sexual organs that you produce inadequate
Bro,
amounts
if I start banning people like dickers who are like, you know, clearly some sort of woke soy libtard, I'm gonna be fucked. It's gonna be all transphobes, bigots, and racists. Come on now.
Testosterone to that of a female, even though you're a male on paper, then there's the discussion maybe to be had if this has been the case since, you know, being born. But in general, with 5AR deficiency, you are lacking in the hormone that actually pushes you through full masculinization, but you are not lacking in the anabolic activity that makes you male at the end of the day. So you might end up with a micropenis, lack of temporal recession, you know, less acne, basically under viralized, but there is nothing to discount the fact that you have the full anabolic capacity of a male. And this is with, you know, Castor Semenya. She was trying to justify, you know, my internal testes should not disqualify me because I know I'm a woman and blah, blah, blah.
Being born, you know, without the uterus, you know, being born with internal testicles, those don't make me less a woman.
Like at the end of the day.
Bro, I've never heard that person speak before. I've already seen pictures of them. Yeah, well, you know, yeah, I got a pair of bollocks inside me, but how does that make me less of a woman? I got this mullered pussy as well. I got this totally mullered pussy with some weird clit that looks like a cock. What's your problem? I'm a woman. Who cares about my internal testosterone levels?
It's not fair for you to compete against females that are biologic females when you're a biologic male with internal testes pumping out test. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So if that is indeed the case with Imane Khelif, which we don't know, so I couldn't say for certain if that's the case, but if that...
You heard us speak the last time we covered this. Okay. I just forget. I'm forgetful. I'm a forgetful guy. Alzheimer's logic.
That is the case. This is like the most controversial of inclusion in an Olympic sport to be classified as female. Like, this is the DSD equivalent of like the most egregious overstep.
Having internal testes shouldn't disqualify someone. Well, I'm pretty sure that Castor Semenya, whatever her name is, she, or I don't know what the pronouns are, they got assessed, they got checked, and they decided your testosterone levels are too high and they're beyond what is reasonable to compete against women. Right? So, yeah, I'm answering what you're saying. But the point is that, yeah, obviously there needs to be an assessment. And in Semenya's case, it was, if you take testosterone reducing medication, then, yeah. But all of this is like, none of this was happening at the time. All of it was trans or not. End of conversation. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you. Imane is a man. Base transphobe.
This is not a complete androgen insensitivity syndrome situation. Like, this is
I think we agree about this probably. It's just frustrating because you're saying all of this like there was this nuanced conversation, right? And then you probably aren't even really playing a part in it. It was so obnoxious how the narrative so quickly became they're a woman, it's on their passport, end of conversation. When there is stuff like the Castor Semenya situation, which was a very apt, you know, especially looking back now, was a very apt thing to bring up. And it was like that was getting completely left off the table as part of the combo.
Where you were just lacking in DHT, and you have test levels of a dude, seemingly, according to the reports that we have, you know, been leaked. So, to be determined if this is actually accurate or not, but if this indeed is the case, and Imane, I think, should go out of her way to prove it to be not the case. She keeps saying she's gonna, you know, sue people and hold them legally responsible for reporting on it. It's like, just get the fucking, you know, actual gender assessment that would determine if this is true. Get some imaging done of your organs and prove it to not be the case. Maybe that sounds insane. Maybe that sounds like unreasonable. But at the end of the day, if you have nothing to hide,
yeah, I honestly, this is not my knowledge base at all. I'm a total retard on all this sport shit. I don't think there's a generic rule for testosterone levels for biological women. I think that they basically, I'm fairly certain that for the purposes of being more inclusive, they've moved more towards a model where it's what's on your birth certificate or your passport. But yeah, I mean, there's obviously testing that happens for drugs and doping and stuff like that. But I mean, you know, what I think because women is the what do you call it? What's the name for the women's category? Men's is uncontested. Like, anyone can compete in the men's category. And they have a limit. They have a ceiling on the women's because obviously women aren't as capable as men at sports, right? At the top level. So you've got to place limits on it. And surely one of those limits should be around testosterone, because testosterone could potentially be a sign of some disorder, which could give you an unfair advantage, right? Yeah. Isn't it illegal to be trans?
That's wonderful.
Dude, you are fucking so far behind. It's not even funny, dude.
The true victim here is Harambe. Think about it.
Thank you for the $5.
you're indeed a biologic female, you would not be worried about internal testes showing on an imaging report. So let's just fucking see it, you know? Like, it's just kind of gone off the rails. Like, you are potentially taking away opportunities from women and punching them in the head in the ring. Like, just, you know, fucking prove that you didn't egregiously, you know, wrong people and, you know, potentially.
Okay. No, they're right. It's an irrelevant fucking point that is months old fucking conversation that is totally way behind where we are with this conversation. We're way fucking past the fact that you can't be trans in Algeria. We already know that. That got discussed at length, and that was to debunk the retarded writers that were saying that. But we're so far past that now, it's an irrelevant point, okay? Holy fuck, dude.
Induce brain damage on females. Like, this should not be an over-the-top ask of somebody who is literally not just competing for a gold medal, but like punching females in the head. You should have to prove that you are also female.
This cope of like, you don't care about women's sports. I mean, I care about this because it was an interesting social phenomenon that happened and whatever. But I think there's some people who don't care about women's sports, but they see what they perceive to be a very unfair situation where someone that seemingly looks just on the look of it as a biological advantage and does this, and they get outraged about it. Is that taken advantage of by rightoids to spin their cultural narrative? Yes, of course. But there is a reasonable fundamental criticism there that I think gets lost in that. And some people will not necessarily care about female sports, but they see that and they don't like it because it seems unfair. We have a capacity to feel a sense of unfairness about things. And that's why stuff like the trans in sports conversation, I know that not trans, I'm using it as an example, caught off in the first place because it was like, it was just so transparently and obviously unreasonable what was being proposed. And you could just look at it and you could see there's someone that has got the physiology of a man competing against people that have got the physiology of a woman in a very clear, explicit way. And it felt unreasonable and unfair, you know? I'm not talking to you necessarily. I'm just saying that there's a narrative that people perpetuate. If you don't care about women's sports, maybe not. But people do care about fairness. And that's why this has become such a successful talking point for the right. Because the right have been able to push this narrative of, we care about fairness, we care about fairness. And the response from progressives is, oh, well, get better, skill issue. Oh, you stupid bitch, you can't run against the guy that's benefited from puberty. Well, fuck you, right? That's the point. And that's what progressives have failed to fucking capitalise and, you know, deal with on this, capitalise on this narrative, is they've just, you know, made all the arguments the right have made correct. Look, they don't care about... You care about fairness, don't you? You might not agree with all my political positions, but you care about fairness. Look at that person there. Do you think they should be competing against women? No, that seems unfair. Well, look at what these people are saying. Oh, skill issue, get good. Oh, whatever, you're a fucking... You know, you're just moaning because you lost. Da, 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 and it goes on. And I think that is a big failing that has been made. And I think this was a microcosm of that issue, not really engaging with the issue and just, you know, falling along culture war lines on it, you know?
To punch females in the head in an Olympic sport, in my opinion. But apparently the IOC thinks having a passport that says you're female is sufficient, which seems a little bit, I don't know, illogical or, you know, and at worst, pretty fucked up, you know, let's be honest. So if it is indeed, you know, a 5AR deficiency, that's pretty much the...
Do you think that any woman who doesn't test below a certain T level shouldn't be allowed to compete regardless of the cause? Very curious. So I am not educated enough to know the answer to that question. I think that sports organizations should do whatever assessment criteria is necessary in order to fairly establish this. And I don't think that just going off the passport is adequate. I think there's more that's needed there. And I think each sports body should look at it on a case-by-case basis and figure it out, you know? There's obviously like a contextual analysis that needs to be done with these situations. And, you know, when you look at, say, again, not exactly relevant, but it is along this, it's the same ballpark. You've got the trans issue. When that started to be assessed by sports bodies, they were all finding the same thing. These trans people that have gone through a male puberty have now got this advantage, and it doesn't go away even with treatment. So it is unfair for them to compete, and people didn't like that. You know, progressives kicked off about that, and it's like, well, no, that was actually the correct decision, even though it feels unfair. It just is the best solution, unfortunately, you know?
The worst case scenario in terms of something that could prevent you from being masculinized to a point where you might actually think you're still female, you know, as you go through puberty. But in reality, you have performance enhancing capacity, you know, relative to females because you have male level exposure to hormones through the testosterone. Like, it's like the equivalent of putting a male on dutasteride from like a nuclear dose of dutasteride from a young age and like preventing them from actually maturing correctly. But it would not prevent them from having testosterone production. It would not prevent them from having male bones. It would not prevent them from having the psychological changes of a male. It would not prevent them from having the infrastructure of a male, the limb length, the everything that comes along with it, aside from your dick reaching full size, essentially. Like, that is basically what DHT is meant to do. It's supposed to push you through full sexual maturation and development. And without it there, you will not. But you will not be inhibited from building male level muscle. You could even subject males who are on literal hormone therapy, testosterone, to mega doses of dutasteride, and we've seen this in the literature, where they crush their DHT levels to undetectable levels, and they have...
Bro, the only thing I know about with undetectable levels is AIDS. I don't know what this guy's talking. I'm lost on this, to be honest. This guy's been talking to science for me. I'm not. What are you talking about, dude? Speak normal.
No significant difference in muscle mass or strength. So if you can literally nuke DHT levels to nothingness in biologic males who are on hormones or even natural and have no difference in their muscle strength or size, like, what is that to say for somebody who's competing in female sport,
Chud knows a
punching
lot about
women in the head?
AIDS.
Like, it's not a good look. Like, this is literature back. This is not an egregious, nuanced, you know, take or anything. It's just science. Male pseudo-hermaphrodites who have a...
What's the consistent take here, Chud? Because intersex people literally don't map onto the binary, case by case. Well, they're on the you know... I mean, you're dealing with, like, the top level of sports. So you got all these people, and you're dealing with this amount of people here. And within that, there's going to be people who've got some of these issues, which is like a thin slice of that. So you can literally just do it on a case-by-case basis and find the best tools and methods to assess this to make it as fair as possible. That's it. You know, this isn't... It's just an interesting topic because of how it tore the internet to pieces. I mean, J.K. Rowling and Elon Musk were threatened with lawsuits over this stuff. I mean, this is pretty big-ticket shit. So it's just interesting how it captured the public interest. But obviously, this is... Well, this does get leveraged by rightoids, as I say, to present their narratives. But progressives have traditionally been quite bad at engaging with this, right? And it's, you know, just a point they can just hammer home again and again about this. But yeah, I don't know, dude. Obviously, this is not a broad issue that everyone needs to be concerned about. But you should have a response for it if the other side is saying, well, these guys are being unfair about it. And your response to that is, yeah, fuck these bitches, basically. Well, fucking yeah, I'm glad they're getting to face smashed to bits by someone that everyone is looking at and saying, this looks kind of like a dude.
A mutation in the gene that encodes for 5AR, you'll see that, for example, here, the male on the left and the male in the center are pseudo-hermaphrodites and are cousins. The male on the right is a normal male, and the brother of the affected male on the left. The affected males are more muscular.
What the fuck?
So this is actually a case where direct relatives, they have literally greater capacity to build muscle because they have none of it converting to DHT. It's all staying as testosterone or aromatizing into estrogen, but they have no beard and they lack temporal hairline recession like the, you know, DHT producing male. But
what is that? Is that what I've got? Have I got temporal, whatever that is?
Notably, the affected males are more muscular. And they are still, notably, still male, you know? This is not to discount the fact that they are still male. Oh, no. They are just classified in the literature as male pseudo-hermaphrodites. So, would you put these guys in the ring and let them punch women in the head?
You've got AIDS.
No, you wouldn't. Okay, you know? Let's be honest here. That would be insane. So, hopefully that's not the case. And hopefully Imane can prove everyone wrong and, like, just get this, you know?
This is just him crying. Case in point of the leftoids fucking just doing the crying about, dude. It's just so obnoxious, dude. Unbearably obnoxious.
Clarified, the responsibility is Imane's to prove this not to be the case. Like, do you want people to think that you are such a monster that you're getting in the ring?
Pseudo-hermaphrodite. So hermaphrodite is someone I believe that has got both organs. They got a cock and a puss, right? And I think pseudo-hermaphrodite is like some sort of monstrous, horrific mix of the two. You know, a shallow pussy with a big micro penis clitoris or something like that, probably.
And punching women in the head? No, you don't. You know, you would want to show, like, here, look, biological female. Here's the proof. Here's my chromosomes. Here's my, you know, you don't have to literally post images of your goddamn, you know, private parts, but have a report that actually has reported on it legitimately. The hiding of it and the constant trying to shut people up who talk about it without just showing some proof makes it look worse and worse every time somebody talks about this. So we don't give a fuck what's on your passport. Like, we need to know for sure that you were not actually a under-viralized male fighting people. That would be the way to prove everyone wrong. That is doubtful. And we're not, you know, hopefully this ends up being a bogus medical report too, because that would be such a shame and a travesty if indeed it was true. So, you know, if you want the high level scientific dissection of this situation, I highly recommend watching my first video. This was not doing the situation justice to adequately elucidate what I'm teeing up here.
Yeah, the Redux thing, no one really reported on it. You know, this is like long lost in the grass, I feel, and no one has followed this up as more information has come out about it, you know.
5AR deficiency and all the different DSDs, and I think I dissected in pretty sufficient detail in the video, so I'd recommend watching it if you have questions or want some clarification on the situation at large. But yeah, that's my summarized takeaway. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and like, what criteria do you think is reasonable for assessing if somebody is the gender they say they are when they go into sport? You know, should you just be able to claim it based on what you were raised as, or do you think there is some sort of, you know, legitimacy criteria that should be adopted where you might have some uncomfortable analysis occurring, but it is to confirm with scrutiny that somebody is what they say they are? Let me know.
I tell you what we should do.
All comments help the algorithm. They're much appreciated.
I tell you what we should do. Send the pictures to me. Oh, sorry, DK. I forgot. This is like your pet interest topic, isn't it? You bloody love this. I forgot. Sorry. Anyway, maybe we could do a second channel segment on it, eh? And then you can watch it as well. Best of both worlds. Yeah, I don't know, you know, it just feels like everything is pointing in one direction. There's still a chance that some new information could come out and this Khelif person is actually a woman and it's all a big mistake and there is no question if there's some sort of, you know, DSD. I think it's like the Casta, very much reminiscent of the Casta Semenya situation. All pointing in one direction. You know, the person involved is saying, no, I'm a woman. No, I'm a woman. I'm a woman. I'm a woman. Right? It's not looking good. And I feel like the story has run away. Maybe it comes up if J.K. Rowling and Elon Musk are getting sued by this individual. But, yeah. I mean, it seems like it's going in one direction. Doesn't seem any information that's coming out that's going against this idea that they likely have got this DSD. But, you know, I'm not an expert. This guy seems to know way more than I do about all this shit, but even so, be cautious. Be cautious out there, guys. Be cautious. Excuse me. Have we heard Imane Khelif's voice? You care about... Okay, I've already explained to you. It's not about being obsessed about women doing sports. It's about fairness. You know, you are really missing the mark of people care about fairness. And rightoids, in some cases, dishonestly capitalize on that to push the narrative. That is true. Hence the fucking, oh, they're trans shit, which was retarded. It wasn't ever true. But, you know, if the response to that is this kind of incredulity and disdain rather than addressing the concern, I mean, you're just fucked, aren't you? You're raped!
وقبل كل شيء أولمبياد أكيد هو حلم أي رياضي. أنا عملت أولمبياد طوكيو ولكن لم يحالفني الحظ وإن ما كانش التحضيرات لازمة لأنه كان كوفيد 19. كورونا. اليوم رانا في باريس الحمد لله. العالم العربي كله والجزائريين والجزائريات يشهدون كيف كانت تحضيراتي في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية. معظم تحضيراتي كانت في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية مع مدرب كبير وهو بيدرو دياز اللي عنده
Okay, I mean, yeah, this sounds like someone. It does sound like someone that's taken a fucking barrage of hormones or something. Like, obviously, they're not trans. That's not what's happened. But it gives me that same energy. I have a legitimate question related to this. Why do we separate women in chess? I feel like you would know. I think it's because mixed categories would mean that men just win all the time. I think there's some slight advantage somehow, somewhere. Something to do with the brain. I don't fucking know. Women are dumb. End of conversation. But no, I do think that it's to do with like the top woman versus the top man. The man wins every time or something like that. So it just creates an unfair advantage. I don't know what the fucking science is. That's my base level retard layman understanding of it. So I would suggest looking at someone that knows what they're talking about rather than me. Okay. It's to do with autism. Hey, oh my god, dude. Speaking of which, you just reminded me of a topic I forgot about.